Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
You're starting in June 2020, you've built up this database, you've reached September 2020, and suddenly you see that set theory is out of your grasp. For example, you can't manage it in any mock, or you're very weak at it, you're getting questions wrong. What do you do? My CAT over 3 years, the overall in 2017's CAT was 97.56, and the overall in 2018's CAT was 98.96, and this year, with a bit of luck, I managed a 99.98, and my sectionals for this year are 100 in VARC, 99.35 in LRDI, and a 99.78 in the quant section. So I'll just break this down into 3 sections. So firstly, VARC. All that I know and I'm able to do in VARC, I owe to my mom, who put me onto a very in-depth reading habit from a very young age. The way that you read a passage is very important, and it's vital to whether you can crack the sets or not. And the way I read it is that I try to crack it together into a structure. So whenever there is, for example, any word which is implying a logical connection, like therefore or since or because, I read it and I am expecting something to come after it. So I'm always trying to think ahead of the passage, stay 2 steps ahead of it, and I anticipate the questions. So I would suggest that for people to be able to get better at it, you should be able to read tough stuff, tough English, very dense language, and make sense of it. About LRDI, basically, if people who are used to thinking logically in a linear manner and who are able to hold their focus well, they'll be doing very well in this section. These are people I've noticed they share some traits, like you'll find some of them who are very good at it. They might be musicians or chess players or Sudoku champions. So I've noticed that doing these things help, and I'd really recommend this. So what you do is you take up the past year CAT papers, the past year mock papers if you have access to them, and what you do is you solve 3 to 4 passages daily. Maintain an Excel sheet, like a database of whatever you're solving. Why this is because when you're trying to solve a problem, you categorize it into its categories. Say for example, set theory or Sudoku kind of solving or graphs and bar charts, etc. After you categorize it, assign some parameters to it. How are you deciding to attempt the set? Another thing that this categorization will enable you to do is, say you're starting in May, right, or June. You're starting in June 2020, you've built up this database, you've reached September 2020, and suddenly you see that set theory is out of your grasp. For example, you can't manage it in any mock, or you're very weak at it, you're getting questions wrong. What do? You go back to this database, look into the categories column, search for set theory, and you will find all the sets that you've solved. Just solve them again. So what will happen is all the sets that you solved earlier, all the analysis that you did on it earlier, you'll get a recap, you'll get a look through it again, and you will be able to finalize whether you are good after the practice, which will help you improve your level, if you're good enough to do them. And if you're not able to do them even after that repeat practice of those sets, it will at least tell you which sets you are not able to do, which sets you should leave out completely. So the next section is of course quants, and I started from a very low percentile for an engineer, 91, and then next year I moved up to 93.5. I decided to go back and categorize my strengths and weaknesses and work on them. So wherever I was strong, I tried to become stronger, bring the accuracy to 100%, and wherever I was weak, I went back to the basics, learned the formula, went through some basic sums, practiced a lot from all the books and material that everybody knows is widely available, and then I try to move some parts from the weaknesses into strengths. In the mocks, I used to attempt about 25 or so questions, and I wasn't very good with the accuracy. So my idea was I can bring down the attempts, but I need to bring up the accuracy. First I tried that didn't work out very well. So what I did was I decided to get better at judging the questions. Whenever I got a question wrong, I used to note it down in a copy. I call this copy the book of mistakes, and it was very vital because this revision of what you get wrong is so often a blind spot that people miss it out completely, and you keep making these mistakes and they come back to haunt you later. So I kept this copy, again a database of the questions that I had a problem with and the concept behind them. I wrote in my own words the explanation to the concept and why and how it was applicable to it, and if there were any other applications, I wrote them there as well. I revise this copy regularly, like once in every 2 weeks or so, or even just before a mock. Firstly, you should select your mock test carefully because they will be what you use to understand where you stand in the competition, and there should be first of all enough competition for you to measure yourself against. So preferably at least 10-15,000 regular takers in the mock tests. Next thing you should understand is that while taking those mock tests, your results should be available to you for analysis, and people who are consistent with that, choose them. That's why again the big few providers who are, they're reliable with their stuff, you make that choice. And basically those are the only parameters available to you for selecting a mock test series. Okay, and after that, how to do mock analysis, that's another thing. So to do mock analysis, first of all you have to understand that it will take more time than taking a mock if you're starting out from a lower score, and it is in the lower scores that mock analysis is most beneficial and most vital for your preparation. You should not neglect it at any cost. So first of all, for all three sections have basically different kinds of analysis, and in VARC I would say that basically the analysis can be to find out what sort of questions you are making errors at and what sort of errors those are. So for example, if you're making errors in fact-based questions which just ask you things which you can skim through the passage and answer, that's a problem that you can easily solve. But if you're making an error in something which is asking you to first understand a 500-word passage, then apply the author's logic, then arrive at a conclusion and then oppose that conclusion or something of that sort, that is a question that at the lower levels is best skipped, as far as I can understand, having helped some of my friends who were scoring low in it. And you should analyze whether you're spending more time on the questions which give you marks and less time on the questions which don't give you marks than vice versa. So you should take a look at that in the VRC section, and keep noting down these mistakes if you're making more of the silly ones. When you come to analysis of LRDI, the game changes a little bit because you're expected to even solve the questions you got correct, right? Because it shouldn't be a fluke that you got them correct. You shouldn't be doing tukka. So you should be solving them thoroughly, all 8 sets if possible. Try to reduce the time you took in the sets which you solved correctly, and in the sets which you did not solve correctly, try to solve them once again by yourself. Don't look at the solution at this point. Try it once. If it doesn't strike you at the first go, try it again a couple of days later or one day later. Let your mind get off the method that you're using, and then it will maybe free up some new approach. So do that, and as I said, put these put these into your database. Very, very important for LRDI. Put every single mock analysis into your database. This mock, this question, these are the reasons why I decided to attempt this question at all, and these are the reasons why I skipped this whole set, because it would not give me marks. And when the analysis comes out, you match your your judgment with it. So just an example, if some set has an accuracy rate of less than 20 and an attempt rate of less than say 40, and you have left that whole set inside 20-30 seconds, that is a huge win, because whatever extra time other people have invested on it, you have saved that time, and you can use that time now to increase your accuracy in other areas. Try to see whether the questions you are attempting are the ones that you should be attempting. When you're starting out to cover your syllabus, you should only be attempting those questions. And ideally, if you can only attempt 12 questions, it's fine if you're done attempting even in 30 minutes and then you sit around trying something or the other with the other 30 minutes. As you proceed along your curve of syllabus coverage, you will find that you are able to at least touch more questions, and then the real scare of judgment comes in, because you don't want to waste more time on one single question. It's very important to be pragmatic and not get emotional about these questions, because you need to leave one. If it's very tough, it's all right. You can solve the other 30, 33 and get the same marks. And that is vital in the quant section. So use the 3-4 parameters I mentioned, which are the percentage accuracy, the percentage attempt, how much time you took versus the average time that everybody else took. I've been in this situation a couple of times actually. So CAT 2017 to 2019, these 3 years, the first year in the morning slot was the toughest LRDI section I've ever seen in any CAT paper of past years and since. Last year's quant was certainly tougher than a very big jump from the CAT 2017 quant, and this year the English was very tough. So basically my very first CAT told me that we have to be prepared for surprises. The main thing which helps you when this sort of thing happens is to know that if you are at a decent level with your preparation and you are surprised by the level of difficulty that the paper is asking you to compete with, then everybody else in your competition will also have to face the same thing. And that's the thing that helped me most. So I don't want to sound like I'm boasting, but I usually complete the VRC section inside 30 to 35 minutes mostly. And this section in the CAT took me about 45 minutes to complete. So as soon as I did that, I was very happy because I knew if I am taking 45 minutes to complete this section, then other people are going to have a hell of a time. And it turned out that way. Luckily, I had a nice kind of hell of a time, and that worked out in my favor. So I had calls from IIM Calcutta, Lucknow, XLRI, FMS, MDI and IIFT, as well as the CAP calls. And I was actually unable to attend the CAP process. It was just the day after my Calcutta interview and it was in a different city.
Inside IIM has come up with an exciting new one-on-one mentorship product where you get to interact with superstar managers from different businesses, different functions. You can ask them everything around your career, your education, your future success. If you are interested, the link is in the description below. Thanks.